You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen with the only Chris Level joining us from the land of Lincoln, Champaign, Illinois. I'm Casey Cowan from, well, the 806, God's country. Chris, great to be back with you. Chris there for a Red Raider Hoops contest, one we'll be discussing a little bit later on today when we get Chris back safe and sound to the LBK. So hang tight. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you don't miss that conversation. On this episode, Chris, we are football heavy, looking ahead to the next weekend for Joey McGuire and the Red Raiders, as now we have Senior Day on tap against UCF. A couple of things I want to get to, including thoughts from Coach McGuire in today's conversation on what really kind of feels like maybe the, or certainly one of the primary obstacles to progress for the offense by this point in the season, and that's finding some more consistency with the pass game. I want to get to some thoughts on those pass catchers from Coach McGuire and a question about whether or not we see some opportunities for some other guys as we go through these final couple of weeks, maybe a little deeper rotation among that group. Also want to get to some things we saw, unfortunately, rear its ugly head against BYU, and that was pressure on the quarterback, and it was a bit more of a mixed bag, I think, than maybe some would assume. We'll take a listen to Coach McGuire talking about sort of the point of origin when it comes to that pressure. Some of that maybe at the feet of the quarterback, and of course some things that could be done a little bit better probably up front as well. We'll get to that in just a moment. I want to start out, though, in good vibes time, and I'm talking about doubling down on good vibes time, Chris, because after this most recent weekend, I don't know if you've seen this like I have, but we've been having a lot of fun with a burgeoning Heisman campaign for one Jacob Rodriguez. Yet, after another great day on Saturday, maybe his best of the year so far, I saw, following a lot of national eyes being on that game, national eyes and perspectives and analysts then chiming in to say, yeah, it's great to consider Jacob Rodriguez in that category, but David Bailey is actually the guy that I'm putting on my list. It's simply fun to think about having two of the nation's best at any respective position in Lubbock, Texas. I do want to chop up with you maybe some of the in-between as far as the comparison between those two, but how about it? Knew we'd be living this life, right? Maybe two on the short Heisman list, both defensive players.
On the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, go figure. Yeah, I mean, you know, that was part of the problem back in 08 is that you had Michael Crabtree and Graham Harrell kind of cannibalize each other's candidacy there. I don't think that will happen here. I don't know the realistic chances here to get a player to New York, but I do think Jacob Rodriguez, simply because the head coach and the school are starting to get behind him and talk about it publicly. He's hitting the Heisman pose, and he seems to be the guy that the school wants the fans to get behind and all those things. But it's funny you mentioned that about David Bailey, because a lot of the football people, a lot of the analytics folks, or people that can vote for certain awards are like, hey man, certainly appreciate what Jacob Rodriguez is doing, but I would personally pick David Bailey. So I don't know where any of this goes. I think it is very much justified, which is, you know, there's not necessarily a front runner right now. You know, Joey, after the game, to the media, to me for the radio interview that we do, he was very impassioned, and his reasoning is, it says best football player, but we all know there's some exceptions, but we all know this typically goes to the quarterback on the best team. If there's certain things that are aligned, if that team has won a bunch, if this young man has got a certain amount of numbers to go with it, if you've kind of had a moment like the Mendoza kid the other day at the end of the Penn State game, and then occasionally it can veer off and it can go to running back if the running back's numbers are just overwhelming and he's on a really good team and things like that. But There's just not. This is not the year where there's just somebody that's a no-brainer that has emerged. I think we all. It's funny because you think about in the summertime, Arch Manning and Cade Klubnik and Jeremiah Love, who has I think actually done some really good things lately. The running back out of Notre Dame. It's just funny how everybody kind of had a different thought about who was going to be that back in the summer, and it's just a much different list now. But Jacob Rodriguez is certainly in the conversation, and I think that the more public sentiment that gets pushed, and the better he plays this weekend and the weekend after. Well, I say that the West Virginia game because there's a bye week the next week. I think he could really. It's not the tackles. That's one thing. It's the interceptions, it's the forced fumbles, it's the tackles for loss. It's those kinds of game-changing plays that the reason why we're having this conversation. And because he's a really good human. That also doesn't hurt his standing. This is a soft-spoken Wichita Fallsian that was originally born in Minnesota that is just a good egg, man. He just is. He's a good human. He's playing really good football. He's humble. And I think that all of that is kind of tied into this deal. So we'll see where it goes. But David Bailey's not going to say a word about this. Doesn't care about it. Nobody's going to speak up for him internally. I don't think David Bailey is the quietest, most unassuming assassin you'll ever meet. He just doesn't. I'm like after the. I was at the buses after the game in Manhattan. And I had to step off the bus to go throw something away, and I walked off, and Bailey was walking up, and there's this all the buses, and there's this fence, and all these Tech fans are there just kind of cheering them on, the fans that had visited, and I just looked up, and it was Bailey walking my way, and he's like, "What's up, bro?" It's like, "Pretty good day." I'm like, "Yeah, man, it really was," and that's it. That's all. That's all you're gonna really get from these. Like, pretty good day. I'm like, yes, it was, and that's just who he is. But gosh, is he good? He will get paid. I actually, I'd hate to do this to him, but I actually saw in one of the latest mock drafts the Cowboys picking him at number 11. I think you and I have touched on this, and they could use a pass rusher. I don't. They used to have one. I don't know what happened there. Wink, wink. But yeah, I could get behind. The NFL team. We're embarrassed to admit it, but this is just our NFL team that you and I root for. That they would pick David Bailey at pick number 11 if that's the way it worked out. But he's just shooting up the draft boards and things like that because his first step is just elite.
I was forced to engage in this exercise by some of our Red Raider brethren I was gathered with yesterday discussing this very thing, Chris. So I'd like to force you to as well. Fantasy draft, who is your number one pick? Are you rolling with number 10? Or are you going to take David Bailey to set the edge first? If you are putting together a defense, there can be only one.
This sucks.
I knew you'd hate it. Couldn't wait to ask. This sucks.
But I would like I'm like embarrassed that I'm going to say this because screw you for making me answer this question, by the way.
Screw my friends.
It's
They're the
probably,
ones that started it.
I know it's probably Bailey, just because, and this is why you see edge rushers paid like they are at the next level.
Yeah.
But I will say that Rodriguez, because what you have with Jacob is it's hard to quantify all that he does for a team. Like you have Bailey's specific skill set, which is just elite, and it's very, very rare. You also have Rodriguez's skill set, which is very rare, but it encompasses leadership, being a connector, glue, maturity, all the stuff, but that elite skill off the edge is just so difficult to find, and I don't know, but that's kind of 1 and 1A, but I'd probably just a slight hat tip to. But I totally get why Rodriguez is the one that's getting the push and the votes for the Heisman. I'm looking at it from like an NFL and a projection and an upside standpoint, but it's
we're trying to win games. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's right.
I think in a different kind of way, Chris, that you would you would certainly just in the sense of like elite linebacker, elite pass rusher, edge guy. I'm always starting with the edge guy, the quarterback killer. I'm always starting with him. But if I told you that elite linebacker was also a ball punching sniper,
I
like
know.
to the extent that one rarely is, there is a little specialty of Jacob Rodriguez's that I think makes it a little bit more difficult to answer, because there are great linebackers that are not like turnover inducers like he is. I mean, that's
But the
unique to him.
beauty of what you've put together here.
First, today's episode brought to you by SupplyHouse. And when the whistle blows on a new repair, you can get your crew moving forward with SupplyHouse. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. SupplyHouse's real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting any projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Needing parts fast for a project? SupplyHouse has next day delivery, and that's a game changer. And their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make any process smoother. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. And visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use our promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's SHCollege5 at supplyhouse.com for 5% off your first order. Real people, real service at supplyhouse.com.
The beauty of what you've put together here is every piece complements the other. It's just unbelievable. And these two guys would say, man, if I don't have Lee Hunter, like I maybe can't really do what I'm doing. And yet, if you don't have Bryce Pollock, if you don't have, I mean, it just goes on and on. And if you only have a David Bailey, and you don't have a Romello Height, you may not see the true greatness of what David Bailey could do, because they'll just like, hey man, just go the other way, or run right at him. I mean, all that stuff. And so it's just that is worth mentioning. That is just the roster construction of what you were able to do on that side of the ball is just chef kiss, man.
Yeah, I feel like there should be room for a statistic for Lee Hunter to share a little bit of that interception, because it actually started with him the other day that wound up in Jacob Rodriguez's hands. Like in hockey or whatever, you get an assist or something along the lines. I think we could tally that up for a big man that leads to something like that. I said it already this week. How many times have we seen these plays where it's like, oh yeah, there's our guy and there's our other guy, and then the assembly line continues. There's the next guy and there's the turnover or whatever it is. I'm trying to think back. I think it was the Skylar Gill Howard Dick six that started with pressure from like maybe Lee Hunter and then AJ Holmes, and then Howard finishes with it, or I might have that order messed up, but that's the way it broke out again on Saturday with Hunter really there on Bachmeier to begin with, and you generate a mistake down the field. It's a thing of beauty when a plan comes together, Chris.
Yes, it is. Like the A-team, man.
That's right. That's right. Okay, let's savor the flavor of those good vibes for one more moment. 3, 2, 1. Okay, because here are some points where we could really discuss room for improvement. One of the things that I walked away from Saturday thinking about, Chris, there were very few that were frustrating from the day or concerning, but to see Baron Morton going down, and then obviously we all know the ongoing health situation he having to deal with. You talked about yesterday. I just don't want to see the guy touched. We want him in a protective cocoon or halo. Unfortunately, football gets in the way of that. So BYU able to get after him a little bit. Could have been some frustration expressed, of course, with maybe some protection up front. I want to get your thought on the dynamic of the O-line, pass protect to run blocking in just a moment. But there's also some, I guess, there at the feet of the quarterback as far as room for improvement. And let's take a listen to Red Raider head coach Joey McGuire talking about just that.
There's two of them that was on him, and it wasn't holding on the ball too long, but like there was two that there was no pressure and he escaped in pressure. So what starts happening, and this happens, we do the same thing with quarterbacks. If you know that a quarterback is going to have a certain way that he's going to move, then we're going to target that way, and almost push him into the pressure, and he'll be the first one to tell you. I mean, there's 2 of the 4 sacks that were directly on him, and you just got to sometimes I think If you go back over the years and you look at different quarterbacks, I mean, I think Patrick would tell you that, you're extending plays and you can extend plays and you almost have to extend plays. You don't have to extend plays with this team. You got to play the next snap. Get the ball out of your hand. Don't get hit because we got a defense. You don't have to put yourself in that harm's way because we're going to get the ball back to you. And so we've talked a lot about that. It's a hard habit to break for every quarterback. It's not bearing. Like, you can go to every single quarterback. It's just the nature of that position. You're usually the alpha. You've made plays all your life. You're used to making those plays, and you just got to continue to grow. That's one of the things that Barron's going to continue to grow, to get better at, to get the ball out of his hand. But it's not even getting the ball out of his hand on time. Just like sometimes the play's dead, throw the ball away.
And Chris, as fate would have it, sort of a sick intersection here for Red Raider fans. You've already touched on this week. You're maybe seeing as good of edge guys this time around against UCF following that experience as you've seen singularly this season. So that's fun to consider.
If they play, one of them didn't finish the game, I don't think, the other night versus Houston. But if they play, yeah. It's we touched on this. I guess it was on Sunday, the day after the game, about how we've just had this way of thinking for so many years, and I just I guess I've just been hard-headed, and I'm just not looking at what's staring me in the face. And you just think, oh man, you should kick the field goal, take what you can get. Offense has got to do this, got to do that, and I think Barron, there's some level where Barron's got to feel that way too. Like, it's always been offense here. It's why he came to school here. It's all he's ever known. It's what he's been trained to do. And you're not trained to holster that pistol. Like, hey, I'll live to fight another day. I'll just keep it in the old holster there. No, I mean, you're trying to find something. And if you go watch some of the plays that he took sacks on, there is nobody open. Now, maybe in the all 22 view, you could see it where there had been a second to where, but they're just, these are coverage sacks, if anything. But I think what Joey is saying is like, we'd like for you to just throw it away, just throw it in the stands, throw it to me. I'll drop it. I got no problem doing that.
Hey, don't jump ahead to the drops. We're talking drops in just a second.
Yeah,
and coach or otherwise.
Yes, I got it.
I want to ask you about this. Like, do you think the group up front has been better suited to run block or pass protect as a group this year? And could I throw this sort of weird observation of my own at you and see what you think? I almost feel like there have been some weeks where one side better suited to pass protect, the other side better suited to move forward in the run game. And I sort of feel like it's the right side that I more so look at as the move forward guys, the left side maybe more so the pass protect guys. I don't know. And I don't know how it's broken down, where you've been getting your yardage left or right in the ground game. And some of that, involves Howard Sampson off the edge on the other side. But I've been struck by that a couple of times moving through the year. Overall, what do you think that breakdown's been like? Where do you really think maybe they've excelled or been more prone to find success by land or air?
Some of that's matchup based on who they're having to see and try to block. There's been some significant challenges with some of the defensive linemen or linebackers, if you will, that you've seen, and depending on what it looks like. I think other times you've got a favorable matchup, other times certain guys do not. I would say, generally speaking, you've probably been better as a run blocking group than you have been as a pass blocking group. Although there's been times when you've had plenty of time. I think the passing game has been a weird dynamic this year. At times you can kind of get what you want. At times there are these explosives, and you certainly have hit on plenty of them. At times your receivers aren't open. It's contested. There's not any separation. At times they catch an underneath one and they'll break some tackles and get you some extra yards. But it just feels like that some of it has been a bit of a grind, whether it's the protection, not having anybody to throw to, or not having anybody open on the back end, that there's just no separation at all. So it's just kind of been this weird uh dynamic, and it's not been bad. It's just been a bit of a grind. At times it looks good, at times it just looks like you're fighting and scratching and clawing maybe harder than you need to, but I don't know the reasons for all of that. But I think that all that kind of goes hand in hand with what you're doing, because I mean, you just think back to some of the, well, I'll save the topic for the next phase of this conversation. How about
We
that?
might as
Yeah.
well mention the word again, because that's
Yeah.
another layer to it, and what makes it a little bit more difficult maybe than it should be. 50-50 balls are tough enough, but sometimes when the 80-20s feel like 50-50s, it just kind of compounds the problem.
Yeah.
Obviously, the drops fairly consistently and sort of widespread too. It hadn't just been one guy or another. You kind of seen it across the group in some ways. Been there throughout the year. Let's take another listen to Coach McGuire talking about that.
It's a mixture. The concentration level has got to continue to go up. And, we actually, I haven't talked to the offensive staff at Blanchard. Now we're talking, you got to create some competition. And, it's never a bad thing to pull somebody off the field and put somebody else in there if you're not getting the job done, and Caleb's probably been the most consistent. Coy's been really consistent, but it showed up, 2 weeks ago. I know Coy would love to have that catch back that he had a drop, early in the game. Reggie had one this week. Some of the drops you gotta take the drops like legitimate drops. Like TC has a ball hit his hands that's thrown behind him, so it's also the quarterback. You got to have good ball placement. You can't. But if it's a legitimate, hey, hit you in the hands, you've got to catch that ball. And some of it is there's going to have to be some other guys to put some pressure on them, to step up. It can't be that you're okay with it.
With some of that frustration, Chris, and we've seen some Hudson and Valson appearances. Hudson actually had a catch last week. Do you think we see maybe the rotation get a little deeper as we finish up the regular season? First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, and football is in full force, and FanDuel's keeping you stocked with action every game day with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet only $5, and if your bet hits, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Any way you like it, FanDuel has you covered. Quick, easy, and secure every time. If you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. You see maybe the rotation get a little deeper as we finish up the regular season?
Well, here's the problem. I get the premise. You don't have any tight ends that are gonna factor into this competition. Okay. I mean, Jason Llewellyn is your third tight end. He's more of a blocker. He's a deep snapper. He's got a role. Trey Jackson's just not ready. From a wide receiver standpoint, it's really can only be Kelby Volson and Micah Hudson right now, because this is part of the problem. Roy Alexander has just been incognito. He's out. TJ West out. Bryson Jones out. Now Leighton Stone out. And so you've got some young guys. I'm sitting here looking at, and there's just and Tristan Gentry has been, as we know, he's been out for a lot of the season. So maybe there's a Price Morgan or a Tyson Turner, or I mean, you're just like Michael Deaver, who's a true freshman. I mean, there's just not a whole lot of other options. As we mentioned on the broadcast the other day, they went into the game because of the Leighton Stone injury. You had basically 5 receivers that you were comfortable playing, your 3 starters, and then Hudson and Volson were kind of the 2 that would rotate in. So maybe their button gets pushed a bit more or something. But that's what you said too earlier, is that this isn't just a one guy problem on these drops. And I go back to the 2 games that you had the most frustrating red zone days, that your field goal kickers shine the most, were in Houston and against BYU, and that was the common theme in the red zone: just drop passes. And I if you want to criticize Barron, and I've heard people do it, I just don't know you can do that without mentioning the drop passes that he's hitting guys right in the freaking hands. And I'm not saying that they're all easy, or anything like that, but I just know that the quarterback's got to play better. But nobody mentions because I mean, Virgil, Carter, and Aiken all dropped passes in their hands against BYU. We knew. Like it was Caleb and Coy, and I'm trying to remember, and maybe it was Carter in that Houston game and some of those red zone opportunities that would have been a first down, could have been a touchdown, all those things. So I just think this is some shared blame, and I will credit Barron for this too. Maybe I have missed it. I think a lot of quarterbacks would lose their mind over some of this and really have some either poor body language, they would act out a bit, they would be visibly frustrated, and we see it all the time. Professional level, college level, everybody feels the pressure. I don't think he has said a word to any of his teammates, and he has taken the high road, if you will, when he probably well within his right to go, damn it, man, catch the ball, But I asked the coach one time, is like, I heard a coach say to somebody that should have caught it, "Hey, catch the ball." And the coach actually was coaching one of his coaches, and he said, "No, they know that. Give them a coaching point. Explain to them how they can catch it better. They already know to catch the ball. That's what they're trying to do. They're not trying to drop it. So let's coach our coaches on, like what can we do better? But you're going to hear, hey, these are contagious. It's kind of like missed free throws. I don't know if that's true or not. Sometimes it's a mental thing, but it's like focus. I mean, Mike used to get him out there with a tennis ball machine and just make him catch a million, So maybe there's a jugs, with the jugs machine, and there's a routine that they need to get into and just like put on in the extra work so it creates some confidence for themselves. I don't know, but it hasn't killed you, but it certainly has the chance to. And I hate it because these are good players. These are good players, and it's just been a bit of an issue that's popped up all seemingly together and not shared by one guy.
Yeah, I like the group. That's exactly what I was thinking. I like your group, and you've clearly been dynamic and able to hit on some big plays, and they're capable of the contested catches. We just saw one of the best in the country from the weekend from Caleb Douglas, but there just hadn't been that steady Eddie, Mr. Reliable kind of feel yet. I don't know. Maybe we break into some of that as we get into these final few weeks and into whatever the postseason is going to bring. But either way, Chris, it has been one of those things on the list of making you wonder when it really, really gets tight. If you wind up where you want to be, either in Arlington or beyond, can you sustain what you need to, say offensively, maybe to close a game or go take a game after I believe your defense would have put you in a position to do that in the fourth quarter. I think I was just having this conversation on Locked On Big 12 this week with Drake Toll about what could be the separation in those moments. And elite national title kind of caliber defense, I think we are all buying into at this point in time. Now, can you make something out of it offensively with a very good group, certainly an improved group from where we've been for many years over the previous decade? But we're talking about the best of the best is the company you want to keep. So it's a thin line there. Another opportunity to get back after it coming up Saturday afternoon on Senior Day against Central Florida. And it's been kind of interesting, too. I was thinking about that passing game consistency. How many big plays have we seen from some of these ball carriers as pass catchers this year? So that's been a big component of it as well and has helped with some of that home run hitting. But we'll take all we can get.
And I would say with your quarterback situation and the defensive end situation for UCF, I would say there's a high probability you could major in some of that this weekend. Like get the ball out quick.
Yeah.
Like let's manufacture, quick touches, and quick, quick game. I guess I'm trying to say, and just get the guys the ball on the perimeter, some easier catches, get them in space, let them have at it. And it protects your quarterback all the while, and it could negate the pass rush of those defensive ends to a certain extent as well. So,
slow down a pass rush, run the ball.
Yep. Well,
how long has that been true?
Yep, that too. Yep, that's right.
Hopefully they can make it happen, and everyone is healthy, wealthy, and wise leaving the ball game on Saturday. Chris, appreciate your time on the road, my man. We'll reconvene in just a few hours' time to talk Tech hoops after we get you back to the LBK. So hang tight with us today. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you don't miss that conversation not too far from now. But appreciate the time to talk football once again, Chris. Enjoyed it, and we'll see you for the next one.
You got it, man. Hoping and moving up in the CFP rankings, and senior day coming up. Our cup runneth over yet again. So, like last week, I'm ready to turn that cup over and spill it out all over everybody, man. So, yeah, guns up, keep hope alive, and we'll talk soon.
Hey, get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. We appreciate the everydayers for always being out there. And, of course, the Matador Mob. Find our show notes and hit the link there for a free 14-day trial. If you're interested in joining that crew, your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks, as always, for the time. Hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.